think we already did MVP right before the break. I think it was Knight that was the MVP. Let's take a look at the pick ban because we're on a delay. We're jumping into the next game as fast as possible. Top Esports started off with a Renekton. They go for the Lulu kog'maw once again. This time around, though, we do see the Varus and Nautilus to answer, with the Zhao still being the option. Karma Orianna banned away, and then a Braum and an Olaf. So it's a Lulu in the mid lane, I suppose, coming out from Top Esports. And then a Dr. Mundo comes out from Rare Atom as well.
Ooh, spicy. So a lot of things to talk about here. I think the first one is I really like this adaptation to flex the Lulu up mid, because in the previous lane, it was two ranged champions, a lot of heavy trading. Lulu kog'maw, great into that. But in this situation, a little bit of concern about the engage potential of Varus Nautilus. So they put the Braum down there, a lot more defensive peel play, and actually very hard to find momentum into this lane, because if you go in as a Nautilus, you're just going to get stunned up and shredded pretty quickly. And then they also enabled this Lulu Olaf combo, Karsa bringing out the old school picks. And similar to the Zhao, you just have so much power in the skirmishing. And on top of that, Lulu into LeBlanc is a pretty strong matchup for the Lulu. You can shove her in, you can bully her. If she ever goes in, you just polymorph her. It's pretty comfortable, and I actually really like the draft coming out from Top Esports here.
I just love how old school Top Esports are, and specifically Karsa as well. I was arguing with someone a couple of days ago about the fact that this Lulu's in Zhao combo exists in the meta right now. I was like, why not Lulu Olaf? Lulu Olaf is like one of the classic combos that you could just set this Olaf up to be an absolute monster carry. And they were like, nah, Olaf's not really good in the meta right now, blah, blah, blah. Karsa brings it out anyway, because Karsa don't care about your meta. He said it in interviews before. You make the meta when you win enough games. That's Karsa's words exactly. So feels good to see Karsa bringing this Olaf out alongside Knight's Lulu. And also, Top Esports showing that it doesn't matter which person is the carry. Knight got himself the MVP in game number 1, so now it's his turn to take a step back and play the supportive role instead. JackeyLove taking a bit of a trade in the bottom side. It's going to be fairly even.
And again, it's that flexibility aspect, the way that they're able to provide for other members of the team depending on what they need. It's not just like that single track, okay, I'm the carry, I need to be the one who's finding success. And I'm really honestly interested to see this Mundo. Haven't obviously had a chance to see much of it since we're just moving on to 11-12. I think overall it's been pretty mixed opinions on it. It is like pretty hard to kill overall, but I wouldn't have thought of it as like some sort of staple pick that's going to define the meta. Yeah. It's not like quite on the level of the introductions of like Gwen and Viego. So I'll be interested to see how this pans out. Typically expected to be a little weak in lane compared to the Renekton at first, but obviously just scale up and become incredibly tanky. But enemy team has a kog'maw who's going to get buffed up by a Lulu. I don't think they're concerned about a Mundo becoming mega tanky.
I mean, at the end of the day, while the rework obviously changed a couple of factors about Mundo, he's still Dr. Mundo. Like, the actual MO is still essentially the same thing. You have a lot of tenacity, except this time it's your passive, so you actually block some CC instead. You got a lot of health regen. You got a lot of movement speed. That's kind of the deal. I will say, the new Corporate Mundo skin, look at that swagger. Look at that swagger. It's unbelievable. It's criminal. You know,
that alone is justifiable to pick it, I'll be honest. Whether or not they win, as long as you're looking cool, that is the main goal. But engage,
well,
come in and...
Yeah.
You know, the flash is all that's burnt here, but potentially in a little bit of a tricky position. But I think the thing with Mundo is you can just farm with your cleavers from a distance, so I don't think Cube is too concerned. But Karsa didn't have to commit very much to end up getting that flash, so happy with that. We'll go down and pick up that scuttle and then return to clear up his bot side, although it looks like a skirmish is broken out mid lane. Some heavy trading, although I think LeBlanc, not really much gank threat in early levels.
Yeah, we could see Leyan moving into this mid lane though. Oh, Knight is overextended for this one. He's going to be in trouble. Does get a shield out, flashes himself, and they're going to go underneath the tower. FoFo taking a tower shot. That's going to be a second one coming in as well. Karsa wants to finish it off. It's going to be Knight that actually got the kill credit for that one in the end. Looks like he will back away to keep himself safe as we move towards the bot side as well. I don't think Zhuo will find an opportunity to close the gap here as they do hit level 4. Maybe an all-in as a TP being channeled. JackeyLove getting damage down onto Hung. And iBoy now closing the gap. FoFo is TP'd to the bottom side of the map. Won't be able to one-shot JackeyLove just yet. And the Braum passive will mean that FoFo just gets stunned up and takes a whole chunk of damage. Zhuo survives thanks to the heal of JackeyLove.
But I really like this added proactivity coming up from Rare Adam. FoFo not happy with the MVP for Knight doing his lion's share, trying to not only make an impact mid, but also move it down bot. But now JackeyLove has the backup of karsa and should feel pretty comfortable. Did end up burning a lot of summoners on this bot side. No roll. Oh, engage comes in.
Yeah, FoFo cancelled the recalls, and top esports just don't respect it. They thought that he would have to go and deal with the minion wave. Hung is pretty low. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Yeah, Hung survives. And it's a nice little play from FoFo, sticking around, not respecting the mid wave. Will lose a lot of CS, a lot of XP for this, but still gets 2 kills for himself. So we'd call that worth.
Yeah, and again, we said, LeBlanc, you want to be moving around the map, you want to be making an impact. FoFo is enabling that, and already this early in the game, a lot more success than we saw in that game 1 with the LeBlanc pick. And ultimately, if you get fed enough in this situation, a lot of threat onto these squishier members, and it makes it very difficult for top esports to face check, because ultimately, top esports are going to do great in these sustained damage fights where they can sort of allow JackeyLove to get a ton of value. But if you're just getting popped or bursted before that even happens, you're going to be in a rough spot. So I want to see FoFo continue this aggression. I want to see him pairing up with Leyan. And ideally, because Knight has no flash available, you could potentially look for a re-gank there. Does have the Merc Treads and the Wild Growth. And you actually see pings coming out mid and Hung moving over. So potentially eyeing up the threat of going for this mid laner. But I think for now, seeing that control, they'll just go towards the Dragon instead.
Yep, Drake will be the pickup here for RA, and a great start to this one for the side of RA. This time around, the bottom lane for top esports not massively ahead this time around. JackeyLove doesn't have the same setup in the laning phase with that Lulu being towards the mid lane. Later on in the game, JackeyLove's going to be a problem for RA, but for right now, they're the ones with the advantage. They have a LeBlanc and a Lethality Varus, which I've mentioned this before on broadcast. Lethality Varus kind of operates almost as like a auxiliary assassin, right? Where when LeBlanc goes in and tries to finish someone off with the burst, if you WQ in there as well as Varus, you can add to that sudden burst and kind of augment that assassination. You can see that Q damage already starting to stack up with the serrated Dirk in the pocket of iBoy. This is definitely a lane that RA can play through.
And the thing is, it works so well into the kog'maw because a lot of AD carries are going to struggle to get up in the kog'maw's face when he's got his W popped. He has that extra range and damage. Varus doesn't need to. He can just spam poke from a longer distance and outrange the kog'maw. And this is a relatively low range comp for top esports. Kog'maw obviously gets that extended range from his W, but outside of that, that's kind of all you're really offering from a distance. And Varus can just spam poke. Even if you have the Braum to offer shields, it's much longer cooldown than those piercing arrows. But it does leave you in a bit of a precarious position. And now, because of that priority in the bot lane, we can see Hung has moved up and he wants to be part of this next skirmish.
Karsa moving down. I don't know if he spotted Leyan or not, but Knight wants to try and help Karsa out with the Rift Herald. Leyan will back away. Obviously, a lot of priority up on that top side for QingTian. Leyan's been spotted, immediately drops his ult, and so does Karsa. Charges underneath. The Wild Growth is there, but they don't have the damage, and now Knight is completely alone. Hung looks for the hook, will find it. 1-for-1 so far. QingTian here to help his mid laner, but they're still at a numbers disadvantage. Jumps onto FoFo, instead jumps through FoFo, tries to get into his own jungle, but JackeyLove is now here. Cube will be stunned up and taken down, so it's 1-for-1 on the top laners as well. 1-for-1 on the junglers. And all things considered, it's a pretty even trade.
But the advantage for Rare Adam is that iBoy didn't even move up. He's just down in the bot lane. Gonna end up getting a plate here and getting some extra farm. So as much as that manages to be an even trade, it still favors Rare Adam overall. And they actually have to burn a TP to be able to mitigate this. Now this does mean the bot lane is still in place on the top side. Karsa there as well, so they will be able to pick up the Rift Herald and balance things out a little bit more.
Yep, so Rift Herald taken, and importantly, Cube going to be up on that top side as well, with a duo lane against him, with a Rift Herald in the pocket of Karsa. Oh, wait, hang on. No way do they get to contest this one. Okay, Knight is there to stop FoFo moving. The polymorph keeps Knight safe there. Herald taken. Karsa can back away. JackeyLove and Zhuo have to get out of there as well, surely. But actually, it looks like the play is moving towards the bottom side.
Wait, iBoy's just bullying.
He's losing a 1v1 with iBoy. Oh, but there's the stun.
Oh,
it's a Renekton. You're an AD carry, but he flashes and he makes the play. iBoy turns it on its head.
What a pop-off. I mean, I saw the ult come in. I'm like, okay, you're getting some poke. I didn't think the all-in would come through. And I mean, clearly QingTian didn't think so either. Just disrespecting the power of this Varus, the early spike you don't typically expect from an AD carry. And iBoy, very confident in his limits.
Yeah, we've seen iBoy be somewhat of a coin flip player in the past, it has to be said. But when he is feeling himself, when he's on, he is on. And manages to shut QingTian out of the play. Now Herald comes up towards this top side. JackeyLove and Karsa going to be sharing these plates, but they will take the first tower of the game. They win the race on that one. They'll be able to push the wave in towards the tier 2 on the top side.
Yeah, so overall, slight gold advantage for top esports on the back of getting their first tower. The fact that you're getting this extra kill as well. And I think the first thing is you get this setup where you're getting quite a few stacks off. That's not really relevant because your Q comes after the ult. A huge amount of chunk damage. Remember, QingTian doesn't have ultimate still available. Used it in that previous fight, and then the heal coming in clutch. There just wasn't enough damage to follow through, and those piercing arrows doing so much damage. You know, typically when we see a Prowler's Claw and a Varus, it's because of all the lethality, and you're like, well, is he really gonna? You're not really gonna get value from the active. iBoy might be the sort of player who gets value from the active based on that play.
That's true. Also, you can like jump to the backline minions to get your Chain of Corruption off as well, which is always nice to see. Importantly as well, in that play, obviously iBoy gets the heal off to survive at the end, but he also flashes just before the last auto can come out from QingTian. So that if that flash is a split second later, the auto would have still gone through, and it would have been iBoy going down instead of QingTian. So really, really close one. Nicely done by iBoy in the end. Very clean mechanics from him. You can see Knight has moved up to the top side now. And after all of the early game shenanigans, Knight has actually sort of caught up to FoFo to some extent when it comes to the scoreboard. They're about even in CS. It's just a kill in favor of FoFo. But in terms of the actual raw gold, it's close to 500 gold.
The problem is, though, realistically, it's not that valuable having the gold onto Knight. He goes with these cheaper items. Ideally, you'd love to have those 3 kills on JackeyLove or karsa or QingTian. Like, there's so much better players who can utilize that gold and then receive the buffing from the Lulu. Now, karsa should just be able to get out on this one, but he is being challenged in his own jungle, and he's pretty far behind in farm compared to Leyan, who, considering how bad his previous game was, he's been holding up pretty solidly here.
Oh, no, that's a Ragnarok.
He mistimed it. He wanted a Ragnarok so he wouldn't get knocked away, but he was a split second too late, so still ended up getting knocked back by the Zhao ultimate and wasn't really able to engage.
Pretty unfortunate on that one, and now JackeyLove is going to set up his tent in this mid lane. He's just going to start to shove these waves in indefinitely. As Knight might be able to stop the recall from Cube here. Sweeper comes out. They're going to spot exactly where Cube is. Karsa going to be here. Ragnarok on cooldown, but there's no tower here. Cube should be stopped, should be slowed, should be denied an exit from the play. He's got a bit of healing, but nowhere near enough. The Viking cuts him down. Now FoFo flashes over the wall. One more auto from JackeyLove. Can't quite connect. iBoy is here. Zhuo over the wall, but JackeyLove goes down. And the TP being channeled. It's from Knight. He wants to finish iBoy off, but he won't be able to close the gap. And karsa arrived, but he's way too late to the play. In the meantime, QingTian is down in this bottom side, but he's a Renekton, not exactly a split pusher.
Yeah, he's not able to kill a tower that quickly, but is starting to get some plates, and JackeyLove just a little bit disrespectful. We're talking about him testing the limits. That path he took through the jungle, just a bit too aggressive there, trying to group up with his team, and it ends up backfiring. And critically, Knight not there to offer the support. Obviously, the Braum, we saw him do everything he could, so starts off and actually does look to almost take down FoFo here, but a good flash away keeps him alive. So they were actually looking for the pick here, but didn't factor in the bot lane from Renekton being there. And again, Zhuo does everything he can to try and keep him alive with the Unbreakable. Once that's gone, he doesn't really have anything else to offer. Knight not there with the shielding and the extra health from the Wild Growth.
I want to ask you about this kog'maw build as well, because we're seeing JackeyLove, after getting all of those plates, after getting a bunch of gold in the early game despite the deaths, he's actually gone for the Blade of the Rune King as the first item here, which currently we're often seeing the Wit's End as the first item on kog'maw. What do you reckon about this build from JackeyLove?
So I like Blade of the Rune King. Essentially, my school of thought is there's 3 builds. I don't count Phantom Dancer because I think it's awful. If you're building that, I think you're trolling. I think Wit's End obviously is great if you need MR, gives you movement speed, gives you a lot of damage. Ginsu's is pretty cheap, and you're able to follow up with a crit cloak for about the same price as some of the other items, so a lot of damage on that first item, but obviously takes time to stack. I like Blade of the Rune King because it's really effective against Leyan and Cube, who are building a lot of HP. It gives you that sustain as well, and it is one of those big one-item damage spikes. I think if you're playing kog'maw, your one-item spike is actually really powerful. People always think of him like a late-game champion, but on 1 and 2 items, he really excels. And I think Blade of the Rune King makes the most sense here when you're against HP stackers, when you want that extra sustain for longevity in fights. And personally, I definitely agree with it.
All right, so we'll have a lot of that damage in any upcoming fights. Drake's going to be up in a minute and a half, but right now Leyan is already onto this Rift Herald, and it felt like Top Esports want to contest for this one. They do have vision. Push Leyan away. Zhuo has to step up. The Chain of Corruption goes a little wide, and he's got a big old shield, so he'll be fine from the damage from FoFo. And it means the Karsa gets to just move up and start this Herald off himself. I'm just going to try and hide it inside the pixel brush here, as they'll pop the eye once more. 2,000 damage on this one. It's going to be a 50-50 smite, but it's actually FoFo that finishes it in the end. And FoFo, he's LeBlanc. He should be able to just zip over and pick up the eye and the Herald with no issues either. So really nicely done by the mid laner from RA.
I mean, FoFo saw the MVP for Night in Game 1, and he wants his zone. He is really doing everything he can to step up in this game, secures the Herald there. And the thing is, RA are already ahead in gold. They're already ahead in dragons, and this is just going to further be able to cement that. I expect to see it used mid to help take that tower down. And it feels like Top Esports, they want to find these fights. They feel confident in their composition when they're grouped up, when they have these double supports with the carries being facilitated. But Rare don't even need to actually opt into fights. They can look for picks, they can look for poke, and it's working pretty successfully so far.
So far, so good. Karsa on this Olaf. I think he likes the idea of contesting this Drake. I think the whole team does. But whether or not it's going to be doable is a different question. They are 2,500 gold down right now. Right, shielding Karsa for the contest here. What has to happen here for Top Esports to be able to get a fight win for themselves? Because so far it's not been working out. I don't think we have time to talk right now, because the fight is going to kick off. The tower has gone down in the meantime, as that is massive damage onto JackeyLove, but he's still able to auto away. Wild Growth still available. It's not been used just yet, but QingTian's Fury of the Sands has been available. Oh, in fact, Dominus. Fury of the Sands has been dazzled. Here we go. Huge burst onto FoFo. He's forced out of the fight immediately. And now the follow. JackeyLove is free firing the entire time. Hunk surely goes down on this one as well. Double kill for the Void Puppy. As Top Esports start things off strong, but they did trade. Both junglers going down here. And it will mean that RA can move in onto the Drake themselves. JackeyLove was somehow back to full HP. iBoy doing a lot of damage. Zhuo with an Unbreakable keeps himself safe for now. QingTian trying to close the gap, but he just can't. And now FoFo can re-engage over the wall. They're looking for QingTian. The root will land. And surely a kill as FoFo finishes them off.
The range difference is just completely too much. It was actually a really good attempt from QingTian to actually look for an engage and allow JackeyLove to free hit. And it did find some momentum, but then all the frontliners were low for Top Esports. They couldn't find a way back in, and iBoy can just keep free firing from a distance. They need JackeyLove to be able to free hit for this to work, and they just weren't able to find it.
It does feel like this composition is built around JackeyLove trying to free fire, so keep your eyes on this kog'maw.
So that's the moment where you finally engage, you can start to hit. But every time you have to be concerned about the arrows, and watch this one that hits JackeyLove coming up there. Sorry, it's not that one. I think it comes in a second. But even though he's healing up, thanks to the Blade of the Rune King and sustaining, and he's healthy, look at everyone else's health bars. They're completely chunked out, and JackeyLove, he pops his W, walks forward, but instantly RA are respecting it, and they're only playing around this poke. They're only playing around their long-range power, and it's really difficult to deal with because there isn't hard engage on the side of Top Esports. They don't have something like an Ornn or something like an Alistair that can just start a fight instantly and force the enemy team to contest them. And so as a result, Rare are playing this one perfectly, where they just back off, poke, and they only re-engage when the fight's over.
And the biggest issue you're going to find there as well is this kog'maw. You're only going to be able to get damage in when that W is available. As soon as that's on cooldown, kog'maw pretty much ceases to exist in these fights where he needs to be playing at long range. So very difficult for JackeyLove to be able to play those, especially when iBoy has so much damage, 5, 0, and 1. We've also got FoFo, 5, 1, and 2. They're both, well, we've got iBoy on 2 items, which one of them's a bit cheap, but then the serrated Dirk there. And then for FoFo, you've got the Finnish Loser's Tempest, but already that Blighting Crystal as well is going to do so much work for him, having that magic pet early on. QingTian. Ooh, I thought he was going to get caught there. I thought he hadn't respected it, but had the double E, so he can get out of there.
And the thing is normally with compositions like this, you think, okay, so, you know, Rare Atom need to kill kog'maw. But they actually don't at all. They just need to kill everyone else and not let JackeyLove really interact. And that's kind of what's been working for them so far. It's a frustrating comp to play into, and Rare Atom, it's been working for them. And then if there's a scenario where JackeyLove does try to step up, he can just get picked off. He doesn't have any MR to pick up the Wit's End. We now have the Void Staff on FoFo, so any MR he does have is severely limited. And that's why he's playing so defensive. He's aware there's a lot more risk than there was in the previous game, a lot more threat to him, because such a fed LeBlanc, such a fed poke Varus. And really, I think as long as Rare Atom don't opt into some over-aggressive fights, they should be pretty comfortable in this one. They're going to take control of that mid lane priority and move towards the Baron. But
oh my lord. The damage after JackeyLove, the second cube oversteps, he just starts getting railed. But I will say, one thing that does have to be commented on is the fact that Top Esports already 1-0 up in the series, right? Dominant game 1 as Ragnarok has to come out from Karsa here. Wild Growth comes in as well. It will save him, but that depth charge onto JackeyLove, it means that Zhuo has to sacrifice himself. Question mark? I guess not. He got away with it.
Yeah, I mean, that arrow was so close to connecting, and he had triple blight stack, so probably would have gone down, but just managed to get away. But again, they're forced off. There's nobody contesting. JackeyLove just walked up to FoFo, but looks like FoFo isn't going to go for it. You can see the TP coming in. The Baron isn't too fast with this lethality Varus. But I think RA are happy if they get contested here and can find a fight. And as much as this Baron isn't fast, they've had a lot of time on it. His health is dropping.
It's fast enough. 2,000 left on this one. QingTian trying to find his way into the pit, but Karsa's not here. Baron has been taken. Leyan going to be stuck here, but flashes over the wall. Top Esports, they lose the Baron. They won't even get a pick off the back of this one. RA, they don't even trade anything. This was essentially a Baron for free. Finally, Top Esports finds something in a tier 1 tower mid, but that is a disastrous moment in this game for Top Esports fans.
And the problem with that is that was the window for Top Esports to force a fight. You know, Rare Atom stopped the Baron. They're trapped in the pit. You manage to corral them in. They are forced to fight you at your range. But because they managed to get that poke off initially, had that skirmish, forced Top Esports back, they weren't able to get there in time, and everyone was able to disengage. That was probably the riskiest window for Rare Atom, was taking that Baron. Now that they've managed to clear out of that, they can look towards Dragon Soul. It's a lot more comfortable. It's a much more open space in the river, and critically, because they're on red side, they don't need to get locked in the pit.
Just looking cute, man. Just swaggering his way through the jungle. This is my jungle now. Just strolling forward with the suitcase. Zhuo and Karsa. I'm not entirely sure this is a fight that you can take, lads. They're going to get kicked out here. Both of them will survive, at least for now, but in goes the jungler. Leyan setting up as FoFo knocks down the pins. It's going to be Knight taken in. It's going to be JackeyLove knocked up by the depth charge, and Cube swaggers his way on over. He's taking his jacket off because it's time to make sure his mid laner can get a triple kill.
And with that, I feel like Baron as well, they're going to do a lot of damage to the base here. I don't think they're quite going to be able to close out the game yet. But it's up to Karsa, QingTian to stop that from happening. Bare minimum, they will definitely get the soul after they back off from this push.
And it has to be said, we saw a incredibly dominant game number 1 coming out from Top Esports. Well, game number 2 has been just as dominant for Rare Atom, as they have decimated the hopes of Top Esports here. They're looking to just end the game. QingTian cannot even get over here. Karsa, though, will be able to jump onto Leyan here. Top Esports are here. The Knight has respawned as well. QingTian doesn't have a way to get in. He doesn't have a gap close to use right now. As Leyan gets slowed, there's the Braum passive. Can they stack it up onto him? He's going to be stunned on the front line. Will finally go down, but it's 1-for-1, 2-for-1 in fact in favor of RA. As now they chase onto Zhuo. JackeyLove just doesn't have the damage. Knight will be slowed, flashes away from the arrow that comes in. But FoFo, his cooldowns are coming back up. He's going to look for this kog'maw. He's going to look for JackeyLove. Cube tagging him up. Oh my days, the damage out from iBoy. A route onto Zhuo as well will surely spell the end of the game, as Rare Atom, they dot the I's They cross the T's and they crush Top Esports in game number 2. They even sit around on Fountain for a little while as a bonus. Under 25 minutes, Rare Atom even up the series.
And again, destructive early game coming in from Rare Atom to match what Top Esports did to them in game 1. They find the momentum and they deliver throughout the game. I think what was great in this one was their approach to team fighting, just completely making the kog'maw useless. And considering they left that kog'maw open after the game 1, they felt confident to deal with this, and the Varus did so much work. JackeyLove, we saw him have over 1,000 damage per minute in the previous game. Won't even be close to that in this one. Just wasn't able to auto attack. And then they used that early pressure to just accelerate the game. And I have to give credit to FoFo. Wasn't really able to make the impact on LeBlanc in game 1, but in this game was trying to be everywhere, trying to make as much pressure as possible, and really got the team rolling.
Yeah, really fantastic stuff from RA. FoFo especially. We said this mid lane matchup was going to be the matchup to watch. Game number 1 is all about Knight setting his team up. Game number 2 is about FoFo on this LeBlanc. The damage out... the fact that JackeyLove is in the conversation for top damage is mind-blowing to me. Like, as far as I can see, he didn't get any chances to get any damage in across most of that game, but he's still somehow up there.
I'm pretty amazed, honestly. I think, like, a good half of that was, you know, when Cube walked up to him and he just, like, shredded him? That's probably, like, a significant portion, but, I mean, I think it shows, like, this Lulu kog'maw combo still can pump a lot of damage, but we saw from that game, unlike that previous one, where it felt like JackeyLove was decimating everything, it just didn't really seem to stick in this one. It didn't really feel to mean anything. And honestly, this is where the Mundo had value. They wanted basically a punching bag for JackeyLove, and Cube fit the bill. He just absorbed all that damage and was able to withstand it, because I think it's pretty amazing you do that much and you're still so far behind in terms of pressure, and it felt like he just wasn't able to do damage.
Absolutely insane that he's on that. JackeyLove is the kind of guy that is like... it's one of those people that the conversation always has to be about him, right? We're coming out of an RA win. We see the chart at the end, and it's like, we're going to talk about JackeyLove. That's the kind of player that JackeyLove is right there. It's absolutely mental. But let's talk about the other AD carry, because iBoy is the MVP coming out from that one. His Varus was beautiful. His ults were beautiful. The Qs finishing people off consistently. And look at the value of the gold that he was given by his team there. His damage to gold ratio, 177% value out of the gold that he got.
I mean, that's pretty crazy. And obviously, finding that 1v1 against QingTian was amazing, but constantly in the team fight, knowing his limits, respecting JackeyLove and the kog'maw, and just never really giving a window, because it shouldn't happen, but there are those moments where occasionally you step up too far, the kog'maw with the Lulu buff rushes forwards and starts hitting you. That never really was able to occur. It was just long range poke, and the build as well gives so much value. Serpent's Fang, a really strong item for Lethality Varus just because of the raw stats, but the fact that you're going up against this Lulu composition was able to get so much effective value off the back of that. So really well played game coming out from him and tying up our series.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. And I mean, you mentioned the shields from the Lulu, even the Renekton, right? Things like the Sterix do just get completely ruined by the Serpent's Fang. That's going to push us to 3 games in our second series and 6 games total today. We're going to jump into a